95, 96 percentile, right, out of 100. Whereas 153 is almost some 63, 64% out of 240. So that means if you're even close to a 153, you're almost smashing the exam, okay? And to get a seat, like if you say rank 66, can you see the fourth row? Okay, rank 66. So the student has even got 112 out of 240. So even if you cross 112, provided you do well in your sketching, you still can get a seat, okay, in an IIT, in one of the IITs, okay? I'm not talking about triple IIT Jabalpur because, yeah, you can even go up to 120, 130, but I'm talking about for qualifying for IITs. Now, why I'm showing you this is to get you a sense of scale, okay? So that means basically, if you answer a question paper today and you're somewhere around the 110 range, you're good, okay? So to be confident about it and study hard, and you can still, get a good seat. Now let's have a look at the Part B section, right? So Part B section is out of 60, okay? So you can see rank 4 has got 47.7. Surprisingly, if you compare rank 4 and 42, right? So rank 42 has got 16 out of 60, okay? But still is rank 42 because he got 152 in Part A. So that's something for you to think about and analyze, right, for your strategy. And if you go with the rank 4, so rank 4 has got a 48, right? 48. So 48 has equaled rank 66 in Part B has almost equaled or rank Part B, rank 4 Part B. But there's a difference in the Part A marks, but still under these conditions, right, of marks, you can still get a seat, okay? Now I've also shown rank 151 here because the student got 56 out of 60. Now why I'm showing that is because that's almost smashing the Part B section. So that's just 4 marks short of full 60 on 60, okay? So there's a very key important thing out here. Let me go to the next slide. So I want you all to understand this very, very carefully, okay? So in Part A, assuming you've done like really well, okay, say 153 or even 160 or whatever it may be, it's still 66% of 240, okay? I hope you understand that, 66% of 240 of Part A section. Whereas Part B, you can score a 56, even up to a 56, which is 93% of 60 of the 60 marks, or on an average, a lot of students I know have got 48, between 45 to 48 out of 60, which is 78%. So what I'm trying to say is Part B is scoring, you know. So if your strength is good in drawing, make sure that you smash your section here, because that will tremendously pull up your marks and give you a good chance for your overall score. Okay, so that's something to think about. So let's just go back to the next slide. Okay, so what I've done is I've seen percentage of marks here. So if you see in rank 4, so overall, I have a question. So overall on chat, overall your Part B marks is how much percentage of 300? Quickly, 60 is how much percentage of 300? Come on, chat in, put in your type in there. 20%, yes. Sanat, correct. Okay, 60 is 20% of 300, which means that your Part B is 20% of the overall possible marks, theoretical. Whereas if you see in the final scores, like say for you see rank 4, row 4, 66, her drawing marks is 30% of her overall marks. That means how you can use drawing to your advantage. You understand what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm saying. Okay. Okay, fine. So at this part, before I go forward, I just wanted to show you some standard average, some standard benchmarks of marks. So before we go forward and do we want to take any questions now, Shika, at this point on what I've covered so far?
Sure, Sean.
Or I'll go ahead. If you see any questions, you can ask me, okay? Yes. So Swarnima Prasad has asked me, what is these are the marks of the last year students. That is correct, okay? Some of the students, okay? So wherever I personally know the marks, that's what I've done. Hamid Roshan, what was the cutoff marks for part A? It was 68.5, which I showed in the previous slides. Wait, I showed it out here. Hamid Roshan, this was the slide that I had already covered. 68.35 was your cutoff for part B. So, okay, this is an interesting question from Puneet Kaur. So Puneet Kaur says, 1 minute, let me go up there. Do I have a good chance at IIT if my drawing is not so good? Yes, that's exactly what I was explaining in benchmark strategy, okay? So Puneet, even if your drawing is not good, I did stress that drawing is extremely important, but even if your drawing is not good, you still can be below 70 ranks, okay? So in fact, not once, I've seen this twice, 2 years in a row, okay? So if you look here, Puneet, if you see rank 42, right? How much marks is rank 42 got in drawing? 16, right? So 16 out of 60 is the person is very good in drawing, but just did not get too good marks in that exam. But you must do very well in your part A. So even if you do 152 in your part A, you still can get into, clearly you can get into IIT. In fact, this happened last year as well. Last year, I know a student who got 12 in their drawing, right? And still got into IITs in the part A because they did very well in part A. They still got into, they got 12 in part B but did very well in part A, so they got in, okay? So I hope that answers your question. Okay. So Apurva says, I have 3 months to prepare. What should be my strategy? I will come to that. We will cover strategy and everything later. Okay, fine. Okay, so Mohit has said, what is the mode of the test this year? Online, offline? Well, up till last year, everybody had to go to physical centers. There was a small break in between, so people went to physical centers. Once you sit in a physical center, it's on a computer, okay? So it's online on a computer, but I assume this year, hopefully, if there's no major third wave that happens or, there's no disruptions, it should happen in a center, but frankly, that's anyone's guess. But once you go to a center, it's on a computer, it's an online paper. So your part A, you completely do it online. Part B, you have a piece of paper to draw, but the question comes online, okay? So the question comes on your computer screen, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead. So there's a question from Harshal Singh. What should be my score to get into IIT Bombay / Delhi being in general category? Well, IIT Delhi was not there last year, but IIT Bombay, your rank should be around 22, okay? Your rank should be around 22. So if you see rank 42 is around 168, rank 4 is around 200. I'm saying roughly around, if you're 170, 175 plus, right? You have a chance of getting into IIT Bombay. Yes, now Delhi will definitely be highly competitive, less here. Is it possible to, Ananya Agarwal, is it possible to score about 200? Yes, it is possible. But FYI, only 3 or 4 people score above 200, okay? Fine. Okay, Mihika Sharma, I could not understand your question. Maybe you can retype it. How did she get a rank 4 with 63% when 68% is the cutoff for part A? Okay, I didn't understand your question, but I don't know if it's correct or incorrect, but that's the marks on the screen. Okay, fine. Anyway, let's go ahead before I take more questions. So there's a lot more to cover, and I'll take more and more relevant questions. Yes, Kuber, please show some sample drawings. I will show sample drawings. In fact, even the girl who got 56 out of 60, I will show her rough drawing. Okay, I mean, she came back after the test and did a rough drawing, so I will show that later on. I do have some sample drawings to show as well. Okay, fine. Let's continue. Let's continue. Okay. So strategy. Okay, let us check. Let us check on a basic strategy. Some of you have said I've got 3 months. Some of you have started studying for a long time. Even with the time you have left, you still can do very well and do well in the exam. Okay, so let's just have let's go to the next section, which is strategy. Okay. So the first thing you should do is, I've seen a lot of students, what they do is they wait, they say, let me study first and answer the question papers later. So what you do is, you keep your question papers very safely. It's like, your question papers are a test to see how much you've studied. Okay, so a lot of people keep the question papers for the end. I would say, before you start studying, or if you have not done that so far, the first thing you must do is you must solve at least one UCEED paper, if not two, okay, or more, at least one before you start studying. This is not to check how good you are. This is not to check how fantastic your marks is, or how, it's got nothing to do with that. You have to go through the paper to understand the pattern of the paper, to understand the type of questions being asked, to understand the range, to understand the difficulty level of the questions asked, to understand what areas you find difficult and what areas you find easy. In fact, before you start, please study the question paper itself. Okay, so you must do that before you start studying. If you start studying and if you have not done a question paper, you have no clue what you're doing. Okay, you have no clue. In fact, the sources that you might be studying from may be wrong. So you might end up wasting a lot of your precious time. So you might study now, and after 2 months, you start looking at the question papers, and then you realize, oh God, this is different. I mean, I'm not focusing on the right areas. Also, you must know the pattern and mix of questions, the weightage of questions. So it's extremely important. Go through the papers. Okay, like I said, it's nothing to do with how good you are, how bad you are. It's about you understanding the question paper itself. Okay, so keep solving. Like, say for example, from now you have 3 months. Every 15 days, at least solve one paper. Now this is very interesting. Okay, solve both UCEED and SEED papers, both. Okay, now some of you all might get fully confused. Okay, I have a question for y'all. Please reply in the chat. Is SEED is for post-graduation. Is SEED papers relevant to y'all? Part A, yes or no? Some are saying yes, some are saying one or two said no. Yes, it is extremely important, because remember, have a different mindset. This is more like an aptitude test, and it is aptitude test and testing your basics. Both the SEED and UCEED paper test your basics. So therefore, if you have this mindset that you stick to only UCEED papers, you have lost half of vital information out there, right? So solve UCEED papers and when I say SEED papers, I mean the part A of SEED papers, okay? Not the part B of SEED papers. Part B is, they have a design problem at a PG level, and it'll be different, like for industrial design or UI UX design or whatever it may be. Not part B, I'm talking about part A. So part A solve both UCEED and SEED papers. Okay, it'll be extremely helpful. And in fact, UCEED papers have started only from 2015, whereas SEED papers, you'll get it from the official website. And please, you can just go to official websites and get them. They're all there, okay? You can get it even from 2000. I think they've started putting it up from 2011 or something. You can get so many papers out there, and it is so helpful, okay? So solve all past UCEED and SEED papers. So that means you've got so many papers to solve. So literally you have extra papers like for luxury, you can use them, right? Okay, and understand the syllabus very carefully from the online brochure. So, like, let's say, for example, if you go to the online brochure, okay, so even out here, so examination syllabus, right? So you have your syllabus, part A, visualization, spatial ability, mental ability. So not only from here, even from the information brochure, you get syllabus. Okay, please make sure that you go through the syllabus very carefully and understand what is the syllabus as well. Okay, important. Okay. Okay, now, next important thing is before the exam, just before the exam, I think well in advance, they are going to release a mock online paper, okay, a mock paper for the interface. So that's what I said. Remember, I said look out for the announcements. So it is extremely important that in the announcements you see what are the mock papers, okay, and you ensure that you go through the mock test. Now, why go through the mock test? It's because they have the interface, okay? They have the interface on where to click, how to click. For example, if you look to the right bottom side, right hand, so you'll have questions answered, not answered, marked, not visited, answered and marked for review. So many students, it's extremely important. You have got to go through this. You have to understand it, full explanation. Okay, if you go now, it will not be there on the website, but after some time, they will activate it. Okay. So as soon as they activate it, make sure you go through it over and over again. So you have to get familiar with the interface. Don't go sit in the exam for the first time and try and understand what the interface is out there, because you'll waste time. You'll waste very precious time there trying to figure out what it was. So answered, green is that yes, you have answered it and you have pressed submit. Not answered is you've not even you've checked it. You've done nothing about it. Not visited will be gray. Now there's a thing here, marked and answered for marked for review. Just think of marked as flagged. Okay, flagged is you're just flagging that question. Okay, so flagging the question is you just said, okay, this is something I have a doubt. Either you have a doubt or you have it's sort of easy, so you're flagging the question so that you can come back later to it. Okay, so if you just flag the question and if you don't click an answer, sorry, if the time gets over, right, you will not get marks for that. Okay, because you've not marked an answer. Whereas if you mark an answer and then flag it, and if the time goes by, it will still be considered for review. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So a lot of students get confused on that. So it's extremely important. Go through this interface, and not only that, detailed explanation is given in the interface as to what all the buttons mean. Make sure that you understand that very carefully before you go for the exam. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now this is another strategy. Kind of varies from student to student. So. NAT and MCQ. A lot of, at least I've spoken to many students, and many prefer. Now, within Part A, you can jump to any section. Okay, it's not that you're stuck on one section. So you have all the sections open there: NAT, MCQ, MSQ. I'm sorry, that's a mistake on the slide. It's MSQ. Where was I? Okay, here. Yeah. So a lot of students prefer to do NAT and MCQ first because MSQ, multiple select, can be a little confusing, okay, because the same question has multiple answers. So yes, even though MCQ has negative marking, still some students prefer to do that first because you know for a fact that there is only one question that is correct there, right? Or numerical aptitude also, you know, many of them you can kind of count easily or calculate. It can be either a mathematical question, age-related question, or you can count easily and, you know, put it out there, and it's something you can do much faster. So even I would highly recommend that try your level best and finish these sections first before you go to MSQ, because you will tend to kind of spend more time on MSQ. Okay, so and it might confuse you and throw you off track. So, but again, like I said, it depends from student to student. But a lot of students I've spoken to, even after the exams, they've kind of followed the strategy and they found it quite comfortable. Okay. Now, part B, you have half an hour. Okay, half an hour, you got to be really quick. Half an hour gets over really fast. Okay, so you have to be very well practiced before. Think fast. You should be good in your perspective. You should be quickly be able to do thumbnail sketches and very fast. The more detail you throw in, the more shade, shadow, texture, light, and more details that you throw in. Like I said, let's look at some examples of some later on, and so the more details you throw in, it's better. So speed, you have to work on speed. So when you cannot afford to sit and dream or think, or should I do this and should I do that, you should think fast. It comes with practice. Okay, so practice is key for part B, and like I said, those who are good in sketching, it's your advantage. Okay. Also, an overall strategy, you must remember, it's your attitude. Okay, it's a very different test. It's a very unique test. It's a very interesting, very beautiful test. Okay, it is, I would say, an IQ test, a test of your basics, a test of your general knowledge. It's like somebody who's done who like last minute. If you try and prepare last 15-20 days, it's really not going to be. It's not really going to help you much. But over a period of time, whatever you've done and whatever you've prepared or who you are will really be tested here. Now, here's an interesting thing. A lot of students will say, I didn't study anything. I just went for the exam, UCEED exam, and smashed it. Okay. I've heard students saying that. I didn't study, I hardly studied and I went and smashed it. Now, it's not that they've hardly studied. If I talk a little deeper to these students are already good in general knowledge. I mean, they have been reading all their lives, right? I mean, they don't realize it, but they read a lot. They're already good in aptitude. They're already good in their fundamentals in math. So it's basically it's something that they have done over a period of time. So even such students also crack even without studying. But yes, of course, studying, being well prepared, going through past year's papers, breaking down, creating a strategy for yourself, going through every section. Some sections are easy for you, some sections you can work upon. Finding all these details is extremely helpful. Okay, it is really helpful, and it makes a difference. Meaning, if you do follow a strategy, if you be smart and work hard, even in 3 months, you can still do really, really well. Okay, 3-4 months, you can still do. You can climb the ladder. You can climb the ladder drastically. Okay, so it is possible. So, like I said, have a good strategy, work hard, work smart. Okay. Great. Now, let's go to any questions so far. Shall I take questions? Shika, is there any questions that I've missed or something relevant to what I've said so far? I can.
Would you like to pick up questions yourself, or shall I?
Yeah, I mean, okay, let me. Sartaki, is it okay we can solve MCQ first? Yes, multiple choice, yes. I'm saying it's a strategy. Some students prefer to do NAT and MCQ first and MSQ later. So that's up to you, but it's recommended. Either MCQ or NAT first, okay? Okay. Okay, where will you get papers from? Okay, so Hemalata has asked, where can we get papers from? Hemalata, so I will answer your question. Pragnya, how many questions will there be in part B? 1 question. Okay, 1 question for 60 marks. Okay. Vishwant says, I appeared in the exam last year, got around 70, but couldn't get into the IITs. So I've now decided to reappear. Any guidance from your side? Okay, the whole webinar is about the guidance. So just follow everything. Shloka, how to prepare GK for UCEED? Okay, that's a tricky one. GK is all over the place. So GK, you really have to have a nice strategy. I'll explain the strategy for GK. Okay, good question, Shloka. How to work on drawing speed, Harshal. Okay, fine. Okay, there's a lot of questions. So let's go one by one. Okay. So the first question I said, I don't know who, one of the students asked, where can I get past year's papers? Okay, fine. Like I said, very important, the link. Okay, this link is extremely important. Here, can you see downloads, right? You can get all past year papers here. Can you see that? An answer key, right? So you literally go there, you can get all your papers. Another area where you can, DQ Labs is our website in which you can also get a lot of past year's papers. So that's edge.dqlabs.in. If you go to the section under NID, UCEED, and say past year's papers, so you can get all the past year's papers here as well as with the answers and explanation, as well as you can get them from the official website as well. Okay, so not only you can even get this papers for UCEED, you can even get the papers for your PG. Okay, PG papers as well. Fine, just give me a minute. Sorry about that. I'm just sharing my screen once again. Okay, fine. So that's where we were. Okay. Yeah, what were the other? So past year's papers, I've answered your question. What are the others asking me? Okay, somebody asked me about drawing. Okay. Oh, how to improve your drawing. Okay, fine. Yeah, GK. Okay, so GK questions. Okay, I'll come to that later. All the different, where you can get different sources for different things, we'll come to that later. How can you solve part B drawing? We'll come to that as well. Let's continue. So before we go ahead, I'll just quickly show you examples. So numerical aptitude, numerical answer type questions is like a question shown on the screen that, like, if you have a set of patterns here, right? How many of these types of leaves that occur only once? So typically, so ideally you have to count. So there's a numerical number and you need to answer the numerical number. Sorry, there's a lot of questions out there. What I'll do is I'll finish this fast and then maybe I'll get back to all your questions, okay? Because there's a lot more I need to cover. Otherwise it'll just go haywire. So numerical answer is questions like this. Just quick examples. Count the number of cubes. Okay. So this object out here, how many cubes does it contain if it was made up of individual cubes? So you need to count that and put that answer there. Or even it can be a mathematical related question. What you see on the screen, it's like maybe age related questions, father and daughter, mother and son, whatever age related questions, but with a numerical answer. Okay, so now MSQ, multiple select kind of questions. So multiple select has multiple answers to this. AC or answer could be whatever, multiple answers. Okay, so this is multiple select type. And you have your MCQ type questions. MCQ is just one answer is correct out of this. Okay. So a giant creature is walking towards a group of buildings in the city. So which is the correct perspective from the creature's point of view? So this is interesting. This is testing your drawing perspective knowledge through an MCQ. Okay. So it's quite an interesting way of, in fact, when UCEED started, FYI, only the last 2 years had drawing questions. So the way they would test your drawing skill and your creative skill was through these, or rather drawing skill, art skill was through these type of questions, okay? Converting them into MCQ type of questions. So in the figure given below, which of the options will replace the question mark? Okay, another type of MCQ question. Okay, these are all. Now, I also spoke about the syllabus. So visual spatial ability. Visual spatial ability is nothing but your ability to see things visually, and in your mind you're able to perceive things in 3D. Extremely important for designers and architects. So typical kind of questions: count the number of solids, count the number of surfaces. So visual spatial ability is a very important test for designers and architects. Okay, so you have cubes, sides of cubes, paper folding type of questions. You punch things on paper, things, objects moved, even in 2D, 3D. These are the kind of questions. Like I showed you, where you can get past year's papers. Obviously, you can get tons of examples of examples from there as well. So you don't need to necessarily. I'm just quickly going through this. Observation and design sensitivity. So they will show you a series of like maybe an animation character, and they'll say, okay, your opinion about the pose or things like that. Okay, observation and design sensitivity. Handle of a mug, which would be the correct representation of the handle of the mug. Analytical and logical reasoning, your typical kind of questions which they ask you for many different types of entrance exams. So an example is on the screen. Language and creativity. Which of the following words are similar in meaning? There's another example for language and creativity. And environmental and social awareness as well. Which of the following are greenhouse gases, or things like Indian handicrafts, Indian performing arts, this or that, or all your GK kind of questions also can come under this section. Okay, so that was just a quick browse through to just show you some basic examples. Like I said, you will get tons of examples from the online papers. Okay, part B. Okay, so any questions so far? Maybe I can take any questions related to what I've done. Chandawar, is it important for your maths to be good? Yes, your basics have to be good, definitely. Hemalata, what good books are there for preparation? Well, there are a couple of good books. Maybe for each section, different things can be good. I've seen Arihant is good for mental ability, aptitude. GK, somebody asked me a question on general knowledge. General knowledge, you can take things like a Malayalam Manorama, or from online, or from reading newspapers. Reading newspapers is good because what happens is anything to do with arts, design, performing arts, okay? Like, say, the year Mario Miranda died, Mario Miranda, the cartoonist, a question about him came in the paper. So if a good performing artist or something happens, like if you're tracking the news, so newspapers is something, when people obviously win medals in Olympics, you can expect a question from that, right? So reading and general knowledge, newspapers is good. Manorama is good, but please understand, you got to be smart here, okay? So when I say be smart, I'll tell you what I mean. It's like, see, general knowledge is endless. I mean, you can just go on and on reading, and it's never ending. So what I would recommend is on Edge, that is DQ Labs Edge. We have made a list of. So if you go here, this is edge.dqlabs.in. So if you go under the Learn section.
Sorry for interruption. The PPT is visible.
Oh, PPT is visible. 1 minute. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen, Shika?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go here on this website, right? Just a minute. Okay, general knowledge section. Okay. So can you see general knowledge list of topics down here? So this shows a lot of list of topics in which they have all been asked from the past. Okay. Indian artists and their works, types of Indian paintings. Okay. So if you go here, all the paintings, GK in the past, whatever has come for NID and UCEED is all here. Like I said, GK is a bit tricky. So if you follow this backbone structure, as in if you say, okay, these are the topics that I'm going to study from, you can study from anywhere. Okay, but as long, like say for example, if you take a Malayalam Manorama, that book is so fat. Okay, so but if you use these as a backbone structure and study only those topics which pertain to this, right, then it is extremely helpful for you. Okay. So that is one area in which you can get, of course, DQ Labs also has everything in one space, so it can be helpful for you. So study material, like I said, a couple of books. Also, besides additional books, you can use, like I said, Arihant, or even any books pertaining to Mensa for IQ tests, as well as for your what do you call that, NTSE exams. Okay, even any books for NTSE exams also are extremely helpful. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, Sean. I think last 10 minutes remaining for the session.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I mean, I would just request that if we can just take up more questions. So
I just have to go through part B quickly.
Sure.
Okay, part B. So let's go quickly through part B and realize that time goes so fast here. Okay, part B. So part B. So last year the question asked was this. You can see my screen, Shika, the PPT?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a question where you are sitting in a ventilated room. It is 9 o'clock in the morning and the sunlight is coming through your window on the east, casting shadows on the floor. A cat is resting on one of the sunlight patches. A newspaper is placed beside a cup of hot tea on one small side table. There are 3 freshly potted plants in the room, 1 on the floor and 2 on the windowsill, and there's a watering jug next to it. Okay, fine. So you got to draw fast. Basically, it's more like a team sketch where you need to draw your perspective and you need to draw your interior sketch fast and just throw in all the details. So you should be good at light, shadow, shade, texture, details, and it comes with practice. Okay, like to show you an example. Okay, this student got 56 out of 60. Please remember, this is not her actual sketch. It is a rough sketch. Okay. She would have had a lot more detail in her in the actual exam, and the light and everything would have come beautifully. But after the exam, she redrew it, and you're not in the same frame of mind when you're drawing it for the second time. So it's quite interesting here. Can you see on the wall? Do you notice like there's a child scribbling out there? Can you notice that? Like a small. That shows creativity. So that means there's a small child in the house who has drawn something on the wall. So there's a lot of detail, very nicely done, beautiful sense of perspective. Can you see some cracks on the wall? Lovely detail. So this student actually got 56 out of 60 in her drawing. Okay, so just to show you an example, like I said, her actual drawing would be a little better than this. This is a quick drawing that she has done after her exam. Okay, so that is 2021 paper, and I also wanted to show. Okay, so there are certain, in fact, the criteria they will give you in the paper. Like say, for example, the evaluation criteria: observation, imagination, selection and composition of objects, quality of line, presentation, attention to detail. Okay. And it also will tell you clearly, if they're written there, make pencil sketches only, do not use colors, please do not waste your time drawing colors. And they can even give you, this is last year's paper, do not draw Professor Shastri, not last year, previous year, okay, do not draw Professor Shastri. So this was 2020 paper, okay, you all can read the paper, what's the question online, but just a quick example of what is done. So Vimal is said that NID is different. Vimal, your strategy for NID is completely different. Please don't mix up. This is for UCEED. Okay, your strategy for UCEED is different. Your strategy for NID is different. Okay, it's not the same. So there's yes, of course, a lot of definitely very common elements, but NID is a total different structure, especially in terms of drawing and theory and things like that, even the level of difficulty of theory, okay? But anyway, Shloka. Manorama consists, yes, you're right, Manorama consists most of political international policies, but Shloka, very important, you have to follow the topics that I showed. So like I said, GK is endless, you got to be smart. It's not like if there are 300 pages, you study all the 300 pages. You need to be smart enough to pick the chapters of what you read, okay? Don't be careful about that, okay? Yes, so Shika, we'll just go straight into questions. I mean, if there's any question I've missed, you two can pick it up.
Sure. So actually there are a lot of questions in the Q&A chat box. So shall I just start picking them one by one?
Yeah, sure, in case I've missed any.
Yeah, okay. So an anonymous attendee asked that, are we supposed to color the drawing in part B?
No, they have clearly told you, do not color the drawing. It's clearly mentioned. Say, for example, you'll get this note. If you can see it on my screen, it says, like, say, for example, in 2020, it says, make a pencil sketch only. They've said, do not use colors. So if you use colors, you're just going to waste your time. Okay. If they mention, use pencils only.
Right. Apurva Patil asked that, what about current affairs? So I think she means to ask that, are there any current affairs based questions as well?
Definitely. There are a few current affairs based questions as well that come, like if there is some political issue. I have seen current affairs come in the past, but very few questions, but it does come as well. The answer is yes. So therefore, reading the newspaper does help. I mean, glancing through the newspaper, glancing through news, at least if you do that, you will be able to answer that question. They do ask that as well. Yeah, but very less. It will be more of design related questions like artists, dance forms, musical instruments, audio, or like computer related questions, audiovisual, photography related questions, color theory and things like that.
Okay. Anirban, they asked that, how to manage time during the exam.
Okay, so time management is very important. What I would say is first, okay, yes, I remember a question somebody asking me. Please don't think that you have to answer all the questions, okay? So if you go and sit and answer all the questions, actually it might work negative for you, right? So areas which do not have a negative marking, go ahead and you can just put some answer because you've got nothing to lose. You can flag it, all right? So I would say go fast through the paper. There'll be a lot of questions that you would have to, divide like 240 marks with the time that you have, 2.5 hours, right? Follow your own strategy. Each section, so, okay, for example, so if you follow this chart, right, you will see how much of total marks is there for the section. So accordingly, you can give importance. You can, before you go for the exam, you can give importance, or you can allocate that I will spend so many minutes per question. But I would say go 2 or 3 runs. That would mean the first, go fast, answer all the questions you know, right? If you are in doubt, flag it. If you are if flag it, and if you kind of know the answer, you're able to estimate or narrow it down to 2, at least mark an answer there also if you can. It's worth taking that risk sometimes. But if you're finding it a tough question, don't waste your time. Just jump to the next question, okay? Because like I showed you, that even if you cross 112, even if you cross 120, you still have a good chance, okay? So don't waste too much of time. Yes, next question.
Kuber Budhija asked that, is JEE Main Paper 2 also helpful for SEED?
JEE Main Paper 2 for architecture. Well, yes, in terms of aptitude, in fact, if you're studying for any JEE paper, right, the aptitude, it does help you because all the aptitude questions, it will help you. But visual spatial ability, design sense, and GK, you will have to study extra. Yes, definitely there's a small element. All your math and basic fundamentals will help you for sure. But you have to put an extra effort, right? And yes, so far, at least for UCEED year 1 and year 2, they have asked perspective related questions, so it will help you. Whereas if you go to NID, they ask you also a lot of more creative thinking questions and 2D graphic kind of questions. But the answer is yes, it will partially help you, but you will need a lot more effort, okay? Right. And even for part B, if you want more, examples, you can also get it from this website, DQ Labs website. You can go here. Say for example, UCEED 2021, we have like a subjective evaluating tool. If you go under sketching, so all the students' papers will be down there, right? And you can select and choose. Yeah, next question.
So there's an anonymous attendee who asked that, will we get the paper for rough work calculations in part A?
You will get, it is there in your booklet where you will get a section for rough work, yes. But it will go along with your booklet.
Right. What topics are important for drawing? Apurva Patil asks.
Okay, so if it is drawing, what I would suggest is first and foremost, you should be extremely good at your perspective. Okay, perspective, keep this in mind. Perspective will help tremendously. Okay. Because you'll be able to draw quick exteriors and interior sketches really fast. So perspective, humans in perspective, animals, light, I've noticed for both the years, light, shade, shadow, texture, observation, and detail. Okay, all these things need to go in, and that has to go in basically.
So there's an anonymous attendee who asks that, are class 12th board exams, class 12th board marks also important for UCEED?
Good question. No, absolutely not. You can just scrape through minimum marks and you can smash the UCEED exam. At the same time, you can get 99 in your boards, but you need not pass the UCEED exam. Interesting.
Right. Ritika Nair asked that, what topics should I study for NAT?
For NAT?
NAT, yeah.
Oh, there's a whole lot of topics. That's a huge question. In fact, that is a webinar by itself. Okay, what topics to study, what are the details? I would recommend going through past years. Either if you're studying yourself, go through past years papers. You need to study and figure out yourself. I've given you a couple of resource material. If not, it would also, like say for example, a website like this where you go and it's all here for you, which is researched and done here for you, right? But to find them all in one place is difficult. Either you have to have multiple books, multiple resource and reference material, but please keep, whatever you do, keep your base reference as your past year's papers, right? And you must understand. See, you must understand, you got to be smart. You got to go through the past year's papers and you yourself need to do some hard work, okay? And figure out what is what. But our website here will help you in one place. Yeah, sorry, next question.
Yeah, so Nupur Kapoor asks that, if we choose 2 options, but there are 3 correct ones, will we get marks for that question? I think she's talking about MSQ section.
Okay, you can go here under the information brochure. It actually details on the evaluation criteria, right? It will tell you exactly, say if you go here, go to evaluation, right? It will tell you exactly how the marks are given, right? So you can go to this brochure and you can find out all information in detail about how marks are given for the MSQ section.
Okay, so while we are over time, I'll be asking a few more questions. Till then, guys, there's a feedback form that we would like you to fill. Dipan, can you just roll out the poll? Till the time we are answering, Sean is answering more questions. I would request all the participants to please fill this poll. And this is just a feedback form, a quick feedback form that will help us know that how did we do in this session? Is there any scope of improvement? What can we improve? For the next session. So it's just a quick feedback form. Till then, I'll just quickly take Sean 2-3 more questions.
Sure.
So Joan Jibi, he asked that, can you suggest a strategy to start preparing, and also for how many hours should I put in each day?
The answer is as many hours as possible, because now when you're going towards the exam, it's like, you will give more importance to the UCEED and lesser to your boards. It's strategy. Okay, it's a balancing act. So more importance to UCEED, lesser important to the board, because after January you're free, right? Put in as much hours as you can. Drawing, I would say right now minimum 2.5 hours, and 2 hours of drawing a day, and theory at least 2 hours. So if you put in 4 hours, I'm saying basic. And if you have holidays, Saturday, Sunday, and all that, even if you can go up to 6 hours, 8 hours a day, nothing like it at this point of time, right? So if you do that, nothing like it, you can still smash. But you've got to be persistent, you've got to be consistent, and it will help you.
Right. There's an anonymous attendee here who asked that what are the most important topics to study? Basically, what type of questions are most commonly asked?
Oh, that's a long question. I mean, just I would say go through this webinar again and go through all the questions. That's a very long question.
There's
you know,
also a popular question popping up, and I think the answer would be long again, but still I'll pose if in case you wish to answer. Students are asking the 3 months preparation strategy for UC.
Okay, fine. I'll give you a 3 months preparation strategy. Number one, past year's papers. Start off with past year's papers, both UCEED and SEED. Ensure that you do at least one paper once in 10 days. Okay. So number two, actually make notes on the kind of questions being asked. Make notes on the topics you're strong at, topics you're weak at. Okay. The topics you're strong at, you can strengthen it. Topics are weak at. In that, there'll be two categories. Some are very difficult for you, and some at least you're making silly mistakes. So the areas you're making silly mistakes, work on that and improvise that, strengthen that. Okay, remember, you don't have to be good in all topics. Like I said, if you even cross 120 out of 240, at least 130, you still have a very good chance. Okay, it's a marathon. You need to run over and over again. And the more you run, the more stamina you get, the more speed you develop is going to be helpful. Okay. There are a lot of websites and reference material that you can take, use them, right? And it'll be helpful. It'll help you saving time searching from all over the place. Okay.
Right. So Sean, I'll
and drawing, like I said, practice perspective, humans in perspective, objects in perspective, animals, light, shade, shadow, practice. It'll be extremely helpful. Yeah.
Okay, so Sean, so I'll be taking the last question for the evening, and it's also a popular question. Many students are asking that, do they need to have any portfolio for admissions final?
No portfolio. No portfolio for IITs and IIIT Jabalpur. Whereas for the participating institutes, they might ask you for a portfolio. Right. But for IITs, and it's just the UCEED exam, you're done with the exam, your rank, that's it. NID can ask you for a portfolio. It depends from year to year. Last year they have asked. A couple of years they have not asked. That will be a different webinar by itself. Participating institutes are private institutes. They can ask. But for IIT and IIIT Jabalpur, no.
Right. Okay. So I think with this we come to an end to the webinar. And thank you so much, Sean, for taking time out. And it was a very wonderful session. I think students enjoyed a lot. And it was a very insightful session indeed. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Also, you students, you can get a lot of reference sketches here. for the past year's questions from the same website if you like. Okay, fine. And there's a lot of free access to it, so you can get that and get a lot of free access. Okay, thank you, Shika. Thank you for having us and having me and our team, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. In case any student has not taken the poll, I would again request, please take up the poll. It's a good motivation factor for us too, and so that it will just motivate us to bring forth more sessions like these to you in future. So in case anybody has not taken up the poll, I would sincerely
And
request it.
FYI, my name is Sean Disa. You said D'Souza in the beginning.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, Disa is different from D'Souza. It's close, but a little different.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sean.
You're welcome. Bye bye.